Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amelia and today we're going to talk about my bookcase. Side note, if you hear sounds and stuff, there are children playing outside and I don't have the most insulating windows. So you might hear children playing. There's not much I can do about that. That's just what children do. But today's video is going to be a bookshelf tour, so I'm going to take you through everything on my bookshelf. I did a video rearranging my bookshelf a couple of months ago, but things have changed a little bit since then. And you can see that in some of my vlogs. I changed a few things up, but I just wanted to make one video where we look at everything, see how it's arranged, everything that I have. And also, I think it would be interesting to count the number of unread books that I have. I don't think it's like too crazy, like on the level of like a lot of booktubers, but also just like I don't have nearly as many books as them, so like it makes sense. But I feel like it's a little bit like, it's probably a little bit much, but I don't think it would be necessarily more than like the avid book reader and collector, because let's be honest, collecting books is like a side hobby to reading books. Like they go together. You can rarely have one without the other. Like, yeah, for sure you can read library books and that kind of thing, but like they're just so nice to look at. I like to collect them. I think a lot of you probably do as well. So let's go ahead and look at them. All right, welcome to the top shelf of my bookcase. You don't see this often. Usually you see like here and like here, which is out of your frame now. So let's go ahead and talk about the books that I have stashed up here. So my shelf is like, the top three shelves are all like adult fantasy. So on this top shelf, we actually have The Counselor, which I'm probably gonna unhaul because I didn't like it. And actually I don't even really know that it classifies as adult fantasy. It gives YA. So that might get unhauled at some point. And then we have my collection of Tad Williams. So first we have the trilogy Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. And this is a really good trilogy. I definitely recommend you read it. To Green Angel Tower is a little bit of an accomplishment to get through. It's over 1,000 pages. And while I do like the books, I do not like the spines. They're slightly different colors of white, even though they're all the same edition. And the little logo is not in the same place. And honestly, I just think the covers are quite ugly. So I am actually planning to try rebinding these into my own custom hardbacks. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And then next up we have my like thrifted Tad Williams. This series is actually called, I don't know what this series is called. Shadow March, I think. Yeah, I mean, I think the series is just called Shadow March, so I don't know. I know literally nothing about this series. I just had started reading The Last King of Ard, and I like to shop for books at like thrift stores and stuff. So when I think I saw this one first, so I bought it because I was like, oh, it's the same author, I might like it. So since then I have been searching for the rest of the collection. This one came from a Valley Village. This one came from like a local bookstore, and this one I found at like a local used bookstore in Vancouver when visiting my sister. So this collection is coming from everywhere. I'm still missing book 3 and I have no idea what this series is about. All right, next up we have a little bit of a stack that got a little bit messed up because I kind of ran out of space on my bookshelf. But first, topping off, we have a tiny little Athena that I got in Greece, and also a little really cute teapot with like a kind of like dripping enamel effect that I got in China. And then we have a thrifted used edition of Way of Kings. It just kind of got jammed in here because there was nowhere else to put it. And then we have the entire Malazan Book of the Fallen collection. These were all given to me by my partner's mother. Thank you. So unfortunately, I have only read the first book. Oh yeah, I just remembered that I was supposed to be counting when I use unread books. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, we are on the first shelf. We're already at 13 books, which is not a good sign, but this is also the shelf with like the most unread books because I haven't got to Malazan this year. I think it might be a next year problem because this year I'm working on Wheel of Time and Realm of the Elderlings, and I just don't have the brain space for 3 huge fantasy series. So I might actually have to reread Gardens of the Moon, which I read last year, I think, and I did really enjoy it. So I have high hopes for the rest of Malazan. But yeah, that is the top shelf. Oh, I also have this wand that my partner's brother made for me. It's very cute. It has a tail hair from my childhood pony in it. Right, and then down onto the next shelf, over here I have this little decoration. It was a gift from my aunt and uncle from their Japan trip a long time ago. I don't even know how long I've had this. And then also another thing that I've had forever, just like a little snow globe. It's actually a music box that my mom used to play for me every night before I went to sleep. So I'm gonna keep it like forever. And it has like little sparklies. And this is, it plays What the World Needs Now is Love. Or maybe it doesn't, maybe it's out of batteries. Let me see. Oh, there we go. It does still work. Now I have to wait for it to finish before I go in. Okay, so I should also mention this plant. It is mostly dead. I think it's still a little bit alive, so I'm holding out hope that I can revive it. But I went through like a 2-month phase where I didn't water any of my plants, so only our strongest have survived, and we're just not gonna talk about it. All right, most of this shelf is Wheel of Time. Like, it takes up a lot of space. It's a long series. It's a bit ridiculous. Oh, actually, one of the books is not even on the shelf. Let me get it. All right, now this is all of Wheel of Time. So I have read From Eye of the World to Crossroads of Twilight. I have not read New Spring, so that puts us at 14 unread books. And then I haven't read the last 4, so 15, 16, 17, 18, which is a lot, but I am actively still working on this series, so like, I want to finish the series this year, so hopefully that will take another at least 4. I'm not really too fussed if I don't finish New Spring this year, but it will hopefully take at least another 4 books off of the list. And then moving on, I have Witcher. I'm pretty sure I read all these. I don't remember if I read Tower of Swallows though. I'm pretty sure I did. I did read Tower of Swallows. But yeah, this is my first Witcher book that I bought at the thrift store, used. And so it doesn't match the other ones in this series, unfortunately, and they've changed the editions, so now I can't get this edition. It's like these ones with this art style on the cover that I really don't like. So that's unfortunate. I'm gonna have to look for them used. I do have a different edition of Last Witch, which I like, it's nice. But definitely my favorite Witcher installations, if you will, are the ones that are like short stories of like Geralt just like messing around, Monster of the Week style, which I think is a pretty common opinion. I think Ciri is not the most like compelling character, and I just don't care about her storyline really. I just want to see Geralt messing around, hanging out with Dandelion, and killing some monsters. And I think I'm just missing one book. I'm missing Lady of the Lake, but everything else I have. Right, I'm gonna have to go ahead and move you down so we can talk about the next 2 shelves. All right, let me move my chair out of the way. All right, this is kind of an awkward way to sit, but we're gonna make it work. So this shelf is the one that is seen on most of my videos, so I have most of my pretty books here, and you will have seen them quite often, but over here maybe not so much because it's a little bit hidden. So I have myself a little film camera. It did work at one point and then it stopped working, so that's unfortunate, but it is cute, so I keep it for display purposes. And then I have this little guy. My friend gave him to me. I think he's just kind of like a ring holder, but I think he's cute. And then the Bloodsworn series, books 1 and 2, which is all that's out yet. I really enjoyed these ones. I definitely recommend that you read these. This has been some of the best like new fantasy that I've read, so I highly recommend that you pick these guys up. And then we get into my Lord of the Rings collection, you could say. So I have just like a normal like mass market edition of Silmarillion, which I have still not finished. I started it, got to page 118 apparently, and then I gave up. So at some point I would like to return to this, but this is not a this year project. Next up, Unfinished Tales. It is in fact unfinished. I have started both of these, but I will probably count them as unread books, so I think that puts us at 20. But these 3 are all like the same edition. They're like the deluxe edition slipcovers. They're kind of hard to find. I would like to complete the Lord of the Rings collection at some point of like all of the books that Tolkien published in that universe, but they all have like a different color. They have a little icon on the side of the box, as well as like embellished gold on the sides. They're really simple, which I like. I like a simple book design. I think it lets the structure of the book shine really well, but I do also like more like graphically done stuff, but there's room for both in my heart. And then just repeats the same symbol. I wish I knew what it was. Some sort, it looks like a shell, but I don't know. And then they also include, where is it? We can see how far I got in this one. The answer is like, 36 pages. But they include a little ribbon for spot keeping, and they are really nicely typeset, which is something I really appreciate. I don't think this one has any maps, but Hobbit and Lord of the Rings do. The ones in Lord of the Rings are like fold out, but I don't remember about the Hobbit. So I'll be honest, I also haven't read this edition of The Hobbit, but I'm gonna count it as a read book, or should I not? Okay, I probably shouldn't. 21 unread books. I haven't read this edition, but I have read The Hobbit. I do mean to reread it soon, so I will obviously be reading from this expensive edition. It's got a little cutout for some little glyphs, little dragon, and then the same on the inner cover, and then yeah, and then this one has actually some art on the end pages. And let's see the map. Yeah, this one also has a fold out map of the quest, so that is nice. And then Lord of the Rings is similar. I don't know if I need to pull it out and show you. I guess I will. It's got a little Eye of the World kind of deal with some, not Eye of the World, oh my god, I have Wheel of Time on mind. I have Sauron with like the script around it, and it's the same on the inside, but we got like the 3 elven rings. And as I said, this one has the fold out map, also a ribbon like the other 2, but that is that edition of Lord of the Rings. And then this set has a bit of a story, because this is my first Lord of the Rings book that I bought for myself. I bought it way back in high school. Then they discontinued this edition. Like, I remember buying it at the store and being like, oh, I really want to get these other 2, but I can't afford it right now. So I just bought the one, and then they discontinued it for years, and they were expensive to buy online. And I was like, I'm not spending that much money. Like, I almost got rid of it. I offered it to my sister. She said she would take it, and then she never did. But it worked out for me in the end because they brought them back. So I was able to get these 2 pretty recently. I haven't read these editions. I've read this one, but I apologize. We have to add 2 more. We're at 23. I'll probably read through these editions soon. But here's the difference. They brought them back, but shiny. And this one is not shiny. So you see my dilemma here. Do I buy this one again, but shiny? Is that stupid? Maybe. But would it bring me joy if they all matched? Yes. And this one is also slightly bigger. So, but it has like such a weathered feel, considering it's really not that old. Like, it just feels very well loved. And so now I'm disinclined to give it up. And also I tabbed it a really intense amount when I read it earlier this year. So it's gonna stay, but I could also get the shiny edition. Now that would be stupid to have 2 slightly different versions of the same edition. But well, listen to me try to justify this. Oh my god, I'm ridiculous. Alright, next I have another like special edition series. This is for the Farseer trilogies, which is the first trilogy in the realm of the Elderlings. And these are really nice hardback editions. They're kind of slightly like foiled a little bit, and they have a nice map inside, little title page, and there's art throughout them. They're illustrated, so I think that and special chapter covers. I really think that as far as special editions go, these are pretty good for the price. I think they're like $60 maybe, and a lot of the time all that a special edition that $60 gets you is like a new cover. But these have new covers, they have art, they have special chapter pages, so I highly recommend them. And the art is really nice. As you can see, each one has like a different color with kind of like an iconographic style to them that represents like the different things in the series, and more specifically in each book. So I really like these. I definitely recommend them. All right, and then the final 2 things you can hardly see, so I'm just gonna take them out. But we have Tress of the Emerald Sea, which is Secret Project #1. And then we also have Frugal Windsor's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, which is a tongue twister, say that 5 times fast. And these are just like the basic editions, because while I was willing to pay the price of the special editions, like the Dragonsteel editions, I was not willing to pay the shipping price. So here we are with our normal editions. And also, one second, I do now have Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, so I kind of want to put them all together, but I'm also out of space on this shelf, which is a running theme, is that I'm out of space on this bookshelf. So, should I count this as an unread book? Because it's not on the shelf. I feel like it does count, but I'm probably going to read it like in the coming week. So it will not be unread for long. Okay, so the unread counter is now up to 24, which is not great, but I have read almost everything on this shelf. And this shelf is mostly like YA that like I've kind of just had since I was like a teenager, so they're just kind of still chilling, but actually a decent amount of it is new books. So starting on the left, we have some stuff. Then we have Over the Woodward Wall, which used to be like faced out like this because I think the design is nice, but then I had to put other books on the shelf and I ran out of space. So now it's like this, which is probably stupider than just doing this. Actually, you're right, I should just do that. Let's be real. And then we have my original box set of Hunger Games, which I actually read pretty recently and enjoyed. They're a good series. Like, the books, I think, are definitely a lot better than the movies, which makes it a lot more about, like, well, even not specifically the movies, but, like, society, people, we made it a lot more about, like, Peeta versus Gale instead of, like, what the books are, like, actually trying to say about, like, society and all that kind of stuff, which, honestly adds up. For the time of the books. And then I have this like random series by Cinda Williams Chima called The Heir Chronicles, and in it there were like people could be like warriors or like different like types of heirs or whatever, and I guess at one point it was bought by Disney because it says Disney Hyperion, and then nothing happened with that, and I remember enjoying them. I haven't read it in a long time, but I feel like they were good. At least they were good to me when I was younger, so make it that way you will. And then we kind of get into like some random stuff that just is on the shelf because they didn't fit on other shelves. So we've got Axiom's End, which is sci-fi. This is the only sci-fi book I have, so it's just like by itself here. I didn't really like it. It was okay. It wasn't like, I didn't feel like it touched on anything that interesting though, which I don't know why I expect it from sci-fi books and not fantasy, but like I do, okay? I don't usually like sci-fi, so if I'm gonna read a sci-fi book, it's gotta be like different and interesting. Like it's gotta really bring its A game if it's gonna be enjoyable to me. So that one just didn't quite do it for me. But then moving on, we have Bloodmarked, which is the sequel to Legendborn, which is a new YA series that I actually quite like, because I feel like recently I've just been like shitting on YA a lot, and this series I actually do like. I feel like it brings something quite like new and interesting to the genre, and the characters actually feel like more developed and like fleshed out than like an ordinary character. Like, does it still have a long love triangle that's like super cheesy? Yeah. What about it? It's allowed to, okay? Next up, I have a couple of books from when I first started getting back into reading, and I thought I was gonna be like literature girly, Song of Achilles and Circe. And when I say literature, I mean just like general like fiction, like that side of booktube is what I was like watching then. And I guess these kind of have like fantastical elements because it's like gods or whatever, but I wouldn't really classify them as like full fantasy. I mean, maybe they should be, but I don't know. They're just here. I enjoyed them. Am I gonna read them again? No, I'm not. Let's be honest, I'm not gonna read them again. And then we have Aragon. These are my thrifted editions of Aragon that I've been collecting. I've been slowly trying to collect all thrifted hardback editions. I would like to rebind them. I have not read from these two editions because I have paperbacks over there that I originally thrifted and then recently replaced with these. So if I'm following the same rule that I followed with Hobbit, I have to count these two as unread, but like, I don't know, like I've just read it so recently that like I'm not gonna read these anytime soon, which I suppose doesn't make the difference about whether or not I've read them. So I think that puts this up to 26. All right, we are almost at the end of this shelf. Next up we have Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. This is the prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree. I bought it a couple months ago and I haven't read it yet. I heard people don't like it as much as Priory, which is probably part of the reason that I haven't got it to it yet. I also didn't think Priory was like perfect, amazing, everything that some people think it is, which is fine. And it was still good. I still enjoyed it. It just like pacing in that book, totally wonk, so wonk. Weirdest pacing. Like we spend 600 pages like doing like character stuff, whatever, which is fine. And then like they build up to this huge thing and then it's over in like 5 seconds. So I'm like, what? This is not what this video is about. Let's continue. Next up we have Magic Steeped in Poison, which should probably be over more into the YA area, but it just got shoved in a corner because it did. This book is pretty good. It's definitely not on like Blood March level, but it has like nice descriptions. It was enjoyable. The main character is quite flat though, so. But the book is really pretty, so even though I probably won't read it again, I'm kind of glad I own it because it's pretty, and maybe at some point I will be able to face it out when I have space. Alright, let's move on to the bottom two shelves, which are kind of, you'll see. Alright, thank you for joining me on the floor. I probably should have tidied up these bottom shelves a bit more before I started, but I figured that the good people of the internet deserve to see the truth, and the truth is sometimes you just have a receipt on your bookshelf. Anyway, let's talk books. On the left, I have a jar that says time, but is in fact full of money. And they're just like random coins, not like real money. I mean, like it's real money, but like collected like special coins, and then also some not real money, like little punchy things that they used to make from pennies before they were like, hey, that's illegal because you can't deface currency, so now you have to make it from like a little plug pellet metal thing. Anyway, that's my decoration. It doesn't have a deep meaning behind it, it's just a jar. But I have over here some poetry books from when I thought I was going to be like a poetry girly in my like film era. So we got like some of those, actually this is Michael Faudet and this is Rupi Kaur. I think they were like dating or something, or like together. This is not something that I would pick up now. I'm sure there's lots of meaning in poetry, but this kind of like short, abrupt form is like, I mean there's certainly still like meaning in it, but like, I just like don't really care, if we're honest. Then I have the Midwich Cuckoo, which I apparently read up to page 209 out of 219. So there's only 10 pages left of this book. Should I just read them right now so that I can cross it off of the unread list? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit here and read 10 pages of the book that I started reading so long ago because one of my friends wanted to start a book club, so we all bought this book, and then as you can see, I never finished it by 10 pages, but I'm going to count it as read because I feel like if you have read that much of a book that's like, I don't know, like 98%, that deserves to be counted as read, and I'm not going to count it as unread. And if you disagree, that's on you. Alright, then we have The Hate You Give, which is kind of like a YA book talking about race and discrimination, but like through the perspective of a young black girl, which was interesting. I read it a long time ago, so I don't really remember all of like the details or anything, but it has awards and stuff, so. And then I have these two books, and actually also this one as well, that I bought for a class that I took on like nonfiction and stuff. They're all kind of interesting. This is probably the worst one. It's about like a group of people get like taken captive in like a hostage type situation that lasts like a really long time. These are different. This one is about like an immigrant and their experience and how they like hold on to their culture or not in new places. And then this one is about a boy in the aftermath of 9/11 trying to deal with having lost his father, which is quite a good book. I do recommend that one as well. And then I have Speak, which I remember reading in like grade 8 or something, because it was like, I don't know, I think it was like a project to like write about it or something. I have not read that since. And in retrospect, it's a pretty heavy book to be giving to a child, but I don't think there's like any reason you specifically shouldn't give kids heavy topics. Like, I mean, obviously at a certain age, like if you're gonna help them like understand it and like learn from it. So, and then this is about, oh, I haven't read this in a really long time. My sister gave it to me. It's about a dog thinking about his life. I think there's a movie. And then next up we have Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. This, I have a hard time describing what exactly it is. It's like a fiction that there are multiple timelines from like way back in the days of like Constantinople up until like even like in the future. And it was really interesting. I definitely recommend you read this one. I think All the Light We Cannot See was pretty popular in the online book space. I haven't read that one, but I did really enjoy this one, and the cover is really cool. I think I actually got this at the used bookstore that is kind of near my house as well. So it has a little bit of damage, but I like it. And the good thing about hardbacks is when you want to do a face out, they stand up way better than a paperback. Next up we have Greenwood. It was interesting. Is it like something I highly recommend? Not specifically, but I enjoyed it. Then we have Death on the Nile. This is another thrifted book. I like Agatha Christie's mysteries. They are interesting, very definitely old-fashioned, but I mean, that kind of just... She's a good writer though, I definitely recommend it. And I did like that movie, Murder on the Orient Express, I think it was called. It had very Wes Anderson vibes, but it wasn't Wes Anderson, and it was good. I liked it. Then we have a collection of sort of random books. We've got Lilac Girls, which is like a historical fiction. Anne Frank's Diary of a Young Girl. We have Ken Follett, Pillars of the Earth, also thrifted. I do have a lot of thrifted books, I'm realizing. And then I have Bridge to Terabithia, which is such a sad book, and they made a really sad movie about it. So if you want to cry, you could. My Side of the Mountain, which I absolutely loved growing up. It's like about a boy who goes back to the wilderness, to this mountain that his family owned, leaves the city and all that behind, and he like learns how to live off the land. It's got a lot of like diagrams and stuff about what he was doing, and I was just like honestly obsessed with this for probably like longer than I should, because it's definitely like a kid's, I would say it's kids. Like the words are really big, but honestly there's just like something about that sort of like romanticized like outdoor lifestyle that really appealed to me at the time. Then we have War Horse, which can also make you cry. Golden Key, which was highly disappointing. We have Starlight by Richard Wagamese, which was quite interesting, but it is like unfinished. I believe he died before he finished it, so if that's something that bothers you, probably not the book for you to read. We have Tattoo List of Auschwitz, which is obviously historical fiction, as well as The Book Thief. Then we have Kids Casino Royale, which I think my sister gave me, and I have not finished it. I just like don't think that this kind of book is for me. I managed to make it up to page 58 out of 168, which I would say is probably not long enough into the book for me to count it as a finished book. So are we up to 27 now or 29? I no longer remember. I'm gonna have to put like a counter or something because I can't remember. Then we have the Little House on the Prairies series, which is another just like series that I still have because I read them growing up. Then we have Chronicles of Avonlea. I don't think I've read this one. It's not like the first book or anything. Then we have like a children's historical fiction about the war. I forget if this is World War I or II. Where is there a date? World War II. All right, the bottom shelf is a lot of nonsense. We've got a candle. It's kind of chipped. It's never been burnt, and it still has a price tag on it. I should burn it. And then I have another jar of money. This one is, I think, just regular money. Oh no, this one I think is also like special coins, because I've got, and then I just have like some photo books, and then this stack. This used to contain wafers that my partner brought back from a work trip. Then we have a copy of Hobbit, that I have been slowly ripping pages out of to put into my reading journal. And then I have the book that I press flowers in. Well, I don't press them in here, but I put them in here after they've been pressed. And then a stack of like bullet journal and that type of journal, including an unopened one. I also have my peach tea container, which is instead actually a container for random screws and a tiny Lego Harry Potter. And then books here, I've got Sabriel, which is like Hawaii, sort of like fantasy from a long time ago. We've got Haroun and the Sea of Stories, which I had to buy for a class. The Alchemist, which is severely overrated. This is a sketchbook actually, I think, but I don't think there's too much in it. Untamed, that's not a very good book either. And then we have just like some nonfiction. Oh, also some vitamin D3, just in case. Then we have some nonfiction. I have a travel guide. That's not that useful because I just Google everything like a normal person. And then we have like some science things. We've got A Brief History of Time. I have not finished this, but I'm over 50%, so I'm going to count it as in the read section because I have read a significant portion of it. I am at page 138 out of 200. I think that's good enough to count as read. Then we have Richard Dawkins' Magic of Reality. I know I started this, but there's no bookmark in it, so I don't know how far I got, so I'm going to add 1 to the unread counter. We have Succulent Gardening. I'm very bad at succulent gardening. All of my succulents are dead. So I should clearly read this book, but I have not yet, so add that to the counter. Elements of Typographic Style by Robert Bringhurst. I have read just under 50% of this, but a lot of the stuff at the back is kind of like studies of specific typefaces, which, while kind of interesting, I want to count it as like appendices and say that I've read this book. Because I've read most of like the stuff where he's actually talking about like type in general and like how to use it and like the history of it. I just haven't read the like examinations of like specific fonts, and like I feel like that's okay. I'm gonna count that as read. Sketching User Experiences. I think I've read like a page of this, so definitely unread. Then I have the Filmmaker's Handbook. This is from when I was in film school. I have definitely not read this cover to cover, but I did read quite a few sections. Not specifically like chronologically, so this bookmark means nothing because I mean it's literally out on the title page. But I'm gonna count this as read because I have read quite a few sections out of it, and yeah, I'm just gonna count it as read. And then I just have like these like language things. They're not really books, they just are on the bookshelf. One day maybe I'll actually like finish these. I've started both of them. Do I speak either Mandarin or Greek? No, not even slightly. I can say like 3 words in Mandarin and 0 in Greek. So, you could use some money there. I should probably learn French because as a Canadian, we at least learn French in like school. So I have a better grasp of like the structure of the language and like the sounds of the language. That would probably be a lot easier for me. But when have I ever done things the easy way? Never. All right, so I'm gonna put these books back and then we will reconvene to discuss what we've learned today. Hello, so I'm sorry to interrupt your regularly scheduled programming, but I forgot that I have some shelves downstairs, so I want to cut in and show them to you now. So on this top shelf, it's mostly just Realm of the Elderlings, but I also have Malice by John Gwynne, because it didn't fit anywhere on my normal bookshelf, which is the theme of this video, is that I need another bookshelf, or at least to expand into this shelfy area in a more established way than just some book piles. But I have not read this, so we're on 32 now. I have read all of these. I'm currently reading this, but as you can see, I'm only a little bit in, so 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. I have read this series, but I did not read from these editions. So 39, 40, and 41. Oof, this was a rough one. I love Realm of the Elderlings, so I highly recommend that you read it. They are amazing. This is also a series I'm hoping to finish this year, so I'll read these 6, but I probably won't reread these this year, maybe next year. And then there's one more final shelf, which is just kind of like, it's got Harry Potter and then like some classic kind of deals. So I have the Odyssey, which I have actually read, the Iliad, which I am not very far into. So what am I at now? Oh God, I've lost count. 40 something. Cat's Table I've read, Double Earners I have read, Great Gatsby I have read, and then these two I have not read. I kind of forgot about them in my TBR video for this month, but I was hoping to read these two in like the fall, and definitely Frankenstein at least for, you know, Halloween vibes. And then I have a thrifted copy of Emma, which I have not read, and I have Les Mis, which I am like, I don't know, a third of the way into, and I've been working on for years, but I'm gonna have to count that as unread as well. And then this is just like a pattern book. It's not actually words. So yeah, that is all of the books that I own. All right, what have we learned? We've learned that I have 31 unread books, which like is quite a few, but like also I could read that many books in about half a year. So I don't think that's like too crazy. Like to be able to read everything you have on your shelf in less than a year and like less than half a year probably, I think is like pretty decent. Although some of these guys might take a while to read because they are quite thick. So if like I did it by pages, then I probably have a lot of unread pages, but we're not here to get into that minutia. We just wanted to look at the shelf and see how many unread books I have. So I think we've done that. I hope you enjoyed my bookshelf tour, and that is all that I have time for today. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.